This is Sydney.
And I'm Sher. And each week we get together to share with you a message of hope.
It is through our own study and our personal experiences that we offer the reminder to not only seek the light,
but be the light. You can find peace, and there is hope.
And as long as one of us is slightly caffeinated, there will be laughter.
Today's episode is Planting Seeds.
And we're so glad you're here.
I'm forging my way through the tip top. I'm living my life through the drip drop.
All right, Sydney, today we're going to talk about planting seeds.
We've had a good time with this one. We've been talking like 10-year-old boys. Planting seeds. Share your seed. Get your seed out there.
I think I've heard every possible inappropriate seed joke that is humanly possible provided by 10-year-old Sydney.
Honestly, I've been on fire. Oh, you should have been recording it.
That's debatable.
What's going to happen is someone is going to be interested because of the sexy title, and they're going to come to listen, and then they're going to hear like, Jesus loves you, and they're going to say, gosh, dang it, that's a buzz killer. Or maybe nobody else in the world's thinking this way, and they just were thinking of gardening. But I will tell you, there's a man named Jonathan. He visited so many fertility clinics and donated so much of his seed.
Wait, you're just determined to take us down this,
Yeah, we are
you?
doing this.
Yeah.
And he has over 500 kids.
500?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you aren't supposed to do that, but I guess there wasn't an official law. Nobody told him you can't, but I think he knew. But he has over 500 children. He's donated that often. Don't you make money doing that?
I think so.
So then isn't he just an entrepreneur?
Yeah, that's it. That's what he is.
Can you imagine you have 499 siblings?
Wasn't he the one that like all these kids started looking for their dad, and then that's when they realized that?
I've heard that he hit up the same area. And so a lot of the people go to school together and they're all siblings mostly. And so they can't really date in that hometown anymore.
Now you're just making crap up. That is a
No, I think I read that
I think you're making
on
it
Twitter.
up.
But what this is really about, this is the buzzkill for the person who came to listen and wanted something else, wanted Cher's 1-900 voice.
Hello
Remember
there.
when you had that? That was good.
Thank you.
I meant when you had a cold, but I guess
Yeah,
you have it all of the time.
I can just bring it out.
Backup
when
plans are
needed.
good. So here's actually what happened. This is where this comes from for myself personally, is my third grade teacher, Glenna Scholl. I adored her so deeply. She had such a gift to see a child and to love them. I don't know how not every single person had her as a favorite teacher in elementary, but she was my favorite. And one day I was thinking about her because she passed away pretty young from cancer. And I was thinking to myself that she was so talented, so fun, and purely wonderful to be around. I just feel like she was taken too young. Like she didn't get to fully blossom into who she was supposed to be. But the thought came to me while I was thinking about this, that what if Glenna did do what she was supposed to do? What if she, through just who she was and just her personality and her ability to recognize who was going without love or attention, she just filled that cup over and over and over. She was so good to me. And I had several teachers throughout my whole life who were so good to me. And I can't say any of them knew what my life was like growing up behind closed doors, but I can say that I feel like they recognized that maybe I was lacking in love, and they just supplied it to me. And she shaped my entire life. And I know it wasn't just me. I am certain that every third grade class that came through had several kids that were loved and shaped by her. So was she famous with all her amazing talents, and she was beautiful and fun? And did anybody know her? Social media didn't even exist back then, so she didn't even get likes for it. But it's that quiet good that plants within us the confidence and the love to help shape our lives that then help us to share love with other people. And that's where this actually comes from. It just comes from a place of knowing someone like her who lived their life in such a way that they were like the give said the little stream situation that I'm small, I know, but wherever I go, the grass grows greener still.
I love good stories about teachers because it warms my heart, and hopefully I didn't screw up too many of my students. But just to get an idea of where I'm coming from, when I thought about planting seeds, I read a talk by Elder Bednar, and it's titled The Path of Their Duty. But in the talk, he quoted President J. Reuben Clark. And J. Reuben Clark gave a talk about the members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that came across the United States in covered wagons. And he talked about the anonymous and uncelebrated heroes who, day after day, week after week, and month after month, choked on the dust stirred up by all the wagons rolling in front of them, and who overcame the relentless obstacles they encountered along the way. So he's bringing up just the ordinary people that somehow found their place in the back of the wagon trains that moved west. And this is a direct quote from President Clark. He said, "They of the last wagon press forward, worn and tired, footsore, sometimes almost disheartened, borne up by their faith that God loved them." I love that definition, that even though they have dust in their face and their feet are sore, they're just going to keep going because they know that God loves them and they're doing the right thing.
And that's the point of this episode, is to recognize and remember that some of us feel that we're not doing anything grand or special or to be seen by many people, that we're just ordinary people living a daily routine. But in that daily routine of us deciding to try to be our best and try to improve a little bit at a time, you have no idea the impact and the power that you might be putting into somebody else just by you being you.
That's exactly what I was thinking after reading this. In the same talk, Elder Bednar quoted President Hunter, who said, and I think this backs up what you were just saying, Sydney, "If you feel that much of what you do this year or in the years to come does not make you very famous, take heart. Most of the best people who ever lived weren't very famous either. Serve and grow faithfully and quietly." And that's how I know a lot of us feel. We're just trying to do the best we can. And then one final quote from Elder Bednar. He said, "You love and serve, listen and learn, care and console, and teach and testify by the power of the Holy Ghost." And that's what we're just trying to do day by day, just trying to do our best doing those things. And so after I read those 3 different quotes, I thought, this is what a seed planter is. It's a person that they're in the back of the wagon train. They're choking on the dust. They're not getting any recognition. They're not famous. They're quietly doing their thing and doing the very best to serve and follow the promptings of the Holy Ghost. They're choosing to do the right thing despite all the dust and the sore feet, and they're tired, but they're just going to keep going, just doing the very best they can. So that's what we mean by somebody who is planting seeds.
And one of the reasons I love this topic so much is because I remember those times where my kids were so little, and all I do every single day is change diapers and feed my kids. And how can you feel like you're doing any good when you're just trying to get through the day and you're just letting your kids eat leftover French fries off the bottom of the minivan and feel like, oh, I'm doing great. I'm so inspiring. And I have come to realize that in our process of doing our daily routines as best as we can give in that day, I was teaching my children how to care for other people. When I felt like I couldn't give the older 2 boys attention because my daughter was a brand new baby, I had to recognize that they are watching me nurture another person and taking care of other people. They're learning how to be patient and they're learning how to serve. I would argue that more than a famous person, the good that's actually done is the in-person relationships. It's the teacher with a student. It's a neighbor with a neighbor. It's a parent with their child. And what I found was really fun to learn about was actual seeds, the things I do for this podcast.
That sounds riveting.
It's terrible because I remember when we had to watch special shows on seeds and whatever. It makes me laugh actually because I love watching the History Channel or the scientific reasoning behind stuff now. My junior high self would hate me. I hated those videos that they made us watch. Now I would soak that up so fast. I'm taking notes. Who am I? Bird watching, History Channel, woman.
You're just an old lady. That's all there is to it.
But I did watch a video, several actually, on seeds. And there were some takeaways that I think are very critical for this topic, Sher. So I'm going to share them with you, whether you want to hear it or not.
Hopefully I can stay awake. I can do it. You listen to me and my history rant, so I can listen to this.
I almost would prefer you not to listen, which is ironic considering this is a podcast. I want to talk, but just don't listen. All right. Something I found interesting with seeds is that they all have an outer layer that's harder, and inside is the embryo. And somehow, in some way, that outer shell will be broken in order for that embryo to start the process of the growth. And it needs to have a warm place for it to grow.
Sorry. Just trying to yawn. I didn't want you to see because I was like, that's rude.
You're embarrassed. I didn't even think of that. You're like, this is seriously so boring. When a history teacher thinks you're boring,
That's when you know you have issues.
you need a new job. Okay. The embryo, it needs warmth and water and food for it to grow. Something I loved is nature naturally gets the process going, especially in the autumn right before winter hits. I also thought what was interesting is if in nature the mother plant drops all its seeds right on top of itself, then the seeds will not grow because the mother plant is taking all the nutrients. And so in order for this process to work, it is vital that the mother plant allows all the seeds to go far and wide. That's important. And I will make this make sense possibly later. But also the outer layer being hard really helps because animals eat the seeds. And because the outer layer is hard, the embryo is protected. Another way seeds are shared far and wide is animals will bury them. And I love this one so much because a squirrel will take a seed and go plant it somewhere to get to it later and never think about it again, which I relate to so much. The effort was there. But I also hope, like a squirrel, that your efforts that you forgot about will then maybe become a tree. Like, I know I forgot to do this again, but what if it becomes a tree?
That's a lot of hope.
Thank you. And then there's a drop and roll method, which bigger trees, let's say an acorn, has a really hard outer shell. And in order to get to the good part that grows, the tree drops the seeds. And in the process of smacking against the ground and rolling, that outer layer is crushed and broken up. And then the good comes out. Can you see so many analogies right now?
I'm seeing them.
So what I loved so much about this first was the idea that sometimes it takes a drop and roll for us. It just is another reminder that life kind of beats us up, but always for the good. If you're getting punched in the face, if you're a human pinata, it's okay because this good stuff is inside. And I like to remind myself of that.
Does that mean I can punch you in the face right now?
Because all the good stuff will come out. God's already doing it, Sher. Don't you worry. You could rest on this one. But
God, if you get tired, I'm here for you.
You're so generous. And I just thought I could see ourselves in so many of these situations, that the messy situation it is for a raspberry, that it is eaten and then pooped out somewhere before it becomes a raspberry bush, or being buried alive, or the drop and roll. I thought all of these very difficult things.
It's a lot of trauma.
It's a lot of trauma.
Mm-hmm. All of those. I don't want any of those.
Well, you already signed up for them and you've had them because you've had a stroke.
I forgot.
Then I might need to remind you I've also been to Paris.
Oh, gosh.
And I just think it's really awesome that some of the best people I have known, they've all been victims to some sort of trauma, whether it's a drop and roll or being pooped out in some situation. It just shows that our growth, it comes from such difficult times. But what I loved even more was learning about weeds, because I thought it was fascinating that the big, beautiful trees that they were talking about, the process was also difficult, that the chances of it falling and landing where it needed to land and breaking apart, then to grow and to somehow getting through winter and finding warmth in the spring, then start the process of becoming who and what it was supposed to be, a big, strong, beautiful tree. But the weeds, they just simply get blown in the wind and they're everywhere. Isn't that interesting? Because to me, something so beautiful as a tree. And that's what it took for it to grow. It was so much work and effort to become this beautiful, strong, will not move, grounded, rooted, established, beautiful thing. It's so much work. But a weed just like now everywhere. And the lawn that you've been paying for has weeds everywhere. And I just thought it was really interesting because how hard is it to pull a tree out that's grown to maturity versus weeds? They're a pain in the butt to pull out, but it's so easy.
I see what you're saying. I get what you're dropping.
Okay, good. The seeds that I'm dropping right now, Sher, are that the negativity and the ugliness or the pesty kind of situations, they are so easy to share. When you're in a bad mood, it is so easy to share that. I am amazing at that. Iana woke me up at 4:30 in the morning because she was scared, and I felt rage for 48 hours. I held it inside, but she'd be like, "Hey, mommy, do you want to paint nails together?" And I'm like, "How dare you talk to me?" But only on the inside. So I was like, "Sure, let's do it." But I just think it's so much easier to share the negativity, and it's more exciting, probably because it's easier. But the positivity, what Glenna did for me, and how that has stuck through the years at such a deep and rooted level, but it takes so much work. But there was a man who did stand behind weeds. He said that the weeds are part of the system and they're important for the soil, and they actually grow where the soil needs some nutrients. And so there is a process, if you allow it, that the weeds will die, go back into the soil, and this will happen forever, basically, until future generations, I guess, where the soil becomes better and better things can grow there. And I thought that also can apply to our life, that the ugly parts in our life, the harder parts in our life can improve our soil. And when we have improved soil, something that was not so beautiful, something that was maybe pestering us, something that we didn't want, when it is fully gone through the ugly, hard process, that really beautiful things can grow there, and then we could share our seed.
I love that example.
I hope so, because I watched so many YouTube videos on seeds, so you better love it.
I did. I loved it. I didn't even fall asleep. I only yawned once. All right. When we were discussing this topic, the first thing that popped into my brain was Johnny Appleseed. When I was in elementary school, we watched Johnny Appleseed, I think, every single year. And I loved it because that meant you didn't have to do anything except watch a movie. I was going to actually read about the real Johnny Appleseed, but I'm like, no, I haven't seen that cartoon since I was probably 10 years old. And so I wanted to watch it again. And I watched it, and I'm not going to lie, Sydney, it kind of hurt my heart a little bit. And I asked you about it. I said, Sydney, have you watched the Johnny Appleseed cartoon?
I just thought that it was a brand of apple juice.
Right. So the answer to that was no. And so then I thought, well, maybe Sydney grew up in a different state than I did. So I called my niece, Haley, who is the same age as you, pretty much.
She's older.
Yeah, we established she's a few months older. Sorry, Haley.
Just older.
She's not even a year older than you.
Old. How does she even get around anymore?
I don't know. It's a miracle, really. Anyway, so I called my niece Haley and I asked her if she had watched these movies. And she was like, oh, yeah, I did. And then she stopped and she goes, wait a minute. Grandma had those books at her house. I read the books. So no, she didn't watch it either.
I hate those people that read the book over watching the movie. It's so annoying.
This is why this hurt my heart. This is how much education has changed between the time I was in school and you were in school. And I'm 15 years older than you.
It's okay.
I'm old.
I think the stroke made you youthful. You had to walk to the fridge again.
Thank you. That did not, but thank you. So I decided not to talk about the real Johnny Appleseed. I'm only going off the Disney version of Johnny Appleseed.
The real source of history matters. So I'm really glad you did this.
You're welcome. So the point of the movie is that Johnny Appleseed did not have brute strength, but he had good deeds. And that's why he became an American legend. It starts out by showing how Johnny Appleseed is a scrawny little guy, but he's going to use his talent of having a green thumb to help others. And it starts by singing this song. And this is where my heart broke a little bit, because this song was allowed in school when I was in elementary school. The song says, "The Lord is good to me, and so I thank the Lord for giving me the things I need, the sun and rain and an apple seed. Yes, he's been good to me." And I just want to read the last verse also. "I wake up every day as happy as can be, because I know that with his care, my apple trees will still be there. The Lord is good to me." I love this because he's not a perfect person. He's got some weeds over here in that he didn't have a lot of strength. They actually called him scrawny in the movie and said he wasn't tough enough to go west with the pioneers that were moving to the west, even though he wanted to. And then a guardian angel appeared to him, and his angel told him that, hey, look, if you feel like you should go west, then you should do it. And he said, but I can't. I'm too weak. Look at me. I don't have enough muscle. I'm just this scrawny little guy. I can't do it. And the angel said to him, you have the most important things. You have faith, you have courage, and you have a level head. And that was what's most important. Then they both concluded that there's work to do and you know how to do it. So get to work. And then I'm pretty sure that one of the things that he was carrying as he went west, because he didn't really carry anything, was a Bible. And again, my heart hurt a little bit because I watched this in elementary school. He decided to go west and he was going to plant apple trees for the pioneers that were going to the West. Now, when I say West, I think of where we live in the Intermountain West. He wasn't going that far west. He was going to the Midwest, like Indiana and Illinois. He was by himself for 40 years, and he planted apple trees for the pioneers. And a quote from the movie is, "This little man, he throwed his shadow clear across the land, 100,000 miles square." And then it also said that he gave the pioneers hope and courage. It shows at the end him passing away, but his guardian angel was there, and they went to heaven together. And that when you see the perfectly beautiful white puffy clouds, those puffy clouds are actually apple blossoms from Johnny Appleseed's Heavenly Orchard. I love that. Have you ever seen it?
Too. No.
You've got to watch it.
Oh, I love it because just yesterday we were playing volleyball and someone hit it to me and I got distracted because the clouds were so pretty. They were the big fluffy ones. They were like, "What are you doing, Mom?" And I was like, "The clouds are so amazing." And then I got hit in the face with the ball. But they're so beautiful.
But it was worth it because you're looking at those beautiful apple blossoms from Johnny's Heavenly Orchard.
That means even more to me now.
Doesn't it?
I will be forever more distracted, burying seeds and looking at clouds. Yes. Here I go.
Yes, absolutely. I know if I showed this movie now that I would be, as a teacher, I would be canceled and then canceled again, and then I'd end up on the news or something.
That would get us more viewers.
It would.
Do it.
So I'll go back to school, show the movie, go viral on TikTok.
Done.
But the point is, he didn't have all the tools he needed to go west. But he took what he had. He took the talent that he had and he wanted to share it with others. He wanted to be a seed planter. And he showed that he was grateful to the Lord that he gave him the talent and the strength to do it. And that's exactly what Sydney's teacher, Glenna, did for her, is she used her talent to plant a seed in Sydney to let Sydney know that she was loved and capable of doing some things, few things. Please remember that was the Disney version of the story.
They don't need to remember that. It was good. It was the Sher version. I liked it. This all reminds me of, it's a pretty well-known C.S. Lewis quote that there are no ordinary people. You have never talked to a mere mortal. Nations, cultures, arts, civilizations. These are mortal, and their life is to ours as the life of a gnat. But it's immortals whom we joke with, work with, marry, snub, and exploit. Why that made me think of it is really just the first line, but I kept reading anyway. But that I think we have this, and it's probably, if I were the devil situation, that if I were the devil, I would want people who feel ordinary to feel like that isn't enough. And I would want people who feel like they're just living regular lives without a big following on TikTok. I would want them to feel like somehow, because they don't have that you are somehow inferior to people who do have that. As if what matters most in this life is how well known you are and how much money you have, how grand your life is, how amazing your Facebook posts and family vacations are. Somehow we have just fallen into the trap of believing that your success is based off of things that are not real life successes. There's been so many studies done where people at their end of their life, no matter how wealthy they were or how poor they were, if they're asked, what would you have done different? What would you want more of? It's always time with the people I love. So if you don't have a following on social media, but you're spending time with the people that you love, you are successful. Everything else is a lie. It's a dirty lie.
That goes back to being the last wagon in the wagon train, and you're the one that's getting dirt all over you, but you're still going. You just keep going and doing what you should. And for the people throughout history that have been willing to get the dirt thrown all over them, but they keep going. I mean, that's how I ended up being a spoiled, rotten brat. Is
that how?
That is how. It's just
starting to make sense.
It's just people in front of me being willing to take that on and doing the hard work so that I could be a slug. So thank you.
I don't think you're a slug, but I do appreciate the idea of how many people have gone before us that we don't even know are in our family line, or we don't know the history of them, who have shaped our lives in drastic ways. While we're on the subject, let me share the story with you about Rock. He wears a red headband under his helmet at lacrosse. And I always thought that was interesting that he picked this red one because that's not his school colors, but he's worn it forever. But one day he couldn't find it. And he said, "Do you know where the red headband is?" I said I didn't, but I knew where another one was that he could wear. And I assumed it was just to keep his hair out of his eyes under the helmet. And he was really upset with it. He was just wanted the red one. And it created finally an opportunity where I said, "Rock, why do you have to have the red one? It doesn't even match your team colors." His answer surprised me because I have to tell you another part first. There is a story that touches my heart so deeply from 9/11. And I am a believer that of the ugliest moments come the real heroes in our life. We are given opportunities to be heroes, and some people answer that call to a level that we cannot imagine. And there is a story of a young man named Wells. I'm going to give you a little background story about him from the beginning. When Wells was a young boy, a little guy, his dad gave him a white handkerchief and he said, "This is for show. It looks nice." Then he gave him a red bandana and he said, "But this is for your snot. You blow your nose into this." And from there, Wells would carry with him a red bandana and he wore it everywhere. He grew up to be a really great young man and he went to college and he was a firefighter for some of his life. And then he eventually graduated and he would work in one of the Twin Towers. And he was there during the 9/11 attack. A few weeks before 9/11, he and his dad had a conversation and he told his dad, "I think I'm ready to change careers. I cannot sit behind a desk one more day. I would like to be a firefighter here in New York." His dad was pretty excited for him to change things because he didn't feel like he belonged behind a desk anyway, but that would not happen because 9/11 attack would take place. He was in the second tower, so he was aware that a plane had hit the first tower, but not aware of the situation or what would happen. And then he would call his mom and he would tell him he was okay and leave a voicemail. But soon after that voicemail was left, the second plane would hit the tower that he was in. And it happened to hit exactly in the area he was in, which took out stairs for most of the floors. Wells would die in this incident. This was an incredibly tragic situation, of course, for his family. And his mom just prayed for answers and prayed for understanding. And they did not find his body for 6 months. But when they found it in what would be the lobby with a group of firemen. Shortly after they found his body, there was an article released where a few people talked about how they were saved. And in this story, a woman said that when the plane hit, it took out their floor and they couldn't see. They didn't know what was going on. They were terrified to move for fear that the floor was going to collapse underneath them. This woman would say that out of nowhere, a young man appeared and he would help gather people and he would start carrying them down the stairs. And then another story came out about the same thing, that a boy appeared out of nowhere wearing a red bandana. And he walked into a room and he said, "Everyone who can stand, stand now. If you can help others, do so." And he told them, "I know where the stairs are and we are going to take people and we're going to go down those stairs." They would find out later that he would go up and down those stairs 17 times before the building would collapse and he would die. This story touches my heart on such a deep level. Someone I do not know, but an ordinary man who was living an ordinary life, who had ordinary dreams, who was so heroic and saved so many people. They accounted for, on record, at least 12 people, not counting groups that were led down by him. I showed this video to my children a few years ago because I would much rather them follow someone like Wells than the other people who are out there. So I shared this video, a short sports edition video on this heroic young man, not knowing or realizing that the young man played lacrosse. So what does that have to do with Rock? I asked Rock, "Why do you wear this red headband?" And he looked at me and he said, "Because of Wells. He was a lacrosse player." I had no idea that Rock was so influenced by him, but he was. He connected that he was a lacrosse player and that he was a hero. And for me, this is an ultimate planter of seeds. I would have never guessed at the time. Rock was about 10 years old when he first watched this video. That would impact him so much that every single Saturday he puts on his own red bandana to wear under his lacrosse helmet like Wells did, because he wants to be like that kind of a person. And one more time, the quote from Wells, "Everyone who can stand, stand now. If you can help others, do so." We are put through our own process of letting loose that embryo inside of us, that we have hard shells, that we're going through our own winters. But if you can stand, if you can help others, then we must do so. You have no idea the impact that you have on other people. And you are likely feeling that your daily routine isn't enough, that you're not doing enough, but you are doing enough and you are enough. And if you believe that, you will allow other people to believe that for themselves as well.
This gets us to our final thoughts. Being a seed planter isn't flashy. You're probably not going to become famous. You'll end up with dirt on your face and your feet are going to ache and you're going to get tired. However, sharing the talents that God has given you can and will change lives. Just like Sydney's teacher, Glenna, did for her. She was an ordinary woman doing what God intended her to do. The seed you plant will influence people's lives. You may not ever see the results, But if you listen to the Holy Spirit and do your best, you can end each day by saying, the Lord is good to me, so I thank the Lord for giving me the things I need, the sun and rain and an apple seed. Yes, he's been good to me.
We challenge you to do a simple act of kindness this week, knowing that a little gesture could do so much for someone's day, and you'll never know the impact you could have on their day or their week or the rest of their entire life.
This is our prayer.
From Sydney and Sher.
I'm forging my way through the tip top. I'm living my life through the drip drop. When eternity's plan, I just can't stop. I'm making my way through the drip drop.
Stop being distracted. We have work to do.
Today's episode is, was it again?
I'm not getting emotional. I just have Dr. Pepper mouth. That I had several Rudy, are you serious?
Be serious. I think he's going to sit down any second now. Rudy, don't. For the love. Rudy, no.
Good idea. Sure. This was a good idea.
Yeah, you're welcome.
How's it so hard to find a spot? Oh my gosh. A play-by-play is Rudy is literally spinning in circles. I found a place to sit, which was the only place to sit. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Rudy distracted me, but
Okay, let's get back in the zone.
I didn't go to school. That's a lie. I didn't even have a third grade teacher. It's all a lie.
So when we started talking about this topic.
Do you ever just feel relief that you're done talking and it's the other person's turn?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I feel that way right now.
Yeah, you did great.
Do you think I did good? How was my talk on Sunday?
It was good. All of it was good. Sydney, I loved all of it.
Stop it. I'm being a brat right now.
I didn't notice. Okay. The song is catchy. The Lord is good to me. And so I think the sun and the rain and apple seed. Yes, he's been good to me.
You should leave that in there.
I'm not going to.
Sorry, I am so congested, Cher.
You got
This
this.
Dr. Pepper will help that.
It will. Now you can be congested and burp.
Okay. Go. Freak, I feel emotion.
Don't do it.
Okay. Die. Emotion. Okay.
Sneeze.
I thought you were crying, but you're just sneezing.
It's like sitting
So
right here.
rude. I thought I was doing like such a
It
good
is.
job.
I got a
But you're
little
just like gonna
teary-eyed,
vomit is all.
but- Okay, I'm good.
Lie to me. Don't tell me you're gonna sneeze.
I'm gonna cry.
Oh, okay.
Okay, keep going.
Okay.
Ugh.
Sorry. What?
It's like every day. I gotta
7
be
days?
kind every day
No.
for a week.
1 week. No, you don't have to be kind. You could do it in a rough way. You could be like mean about it. You could be like, I got you a stupid pizza, you loser, to your neighbor. It's an option.
Is that what you want me to do for you?
Please, actually, yeah.
Okay.
I don't care.
Got your
Okay.
stupid pizza, Sydney.
I got you a stupid pizza.
Okay, start over.
Okay.
I ruined your groove.
Sydney and Cher.
That was creepy.